Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422. At Citizen TV Kenya, Anat Ayub Abdikadir Njeri Maina is the Kirinyaga County Woman MP. Fred Okango is political strategist. Gitonga Mukunji MP, Manyata constituency, and the chairperson of Kenya Young Parliamentarians. And also this morning, we are joined by Maina Karobia, who is an MP at the East African Legislative Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your time. Fred, yes, on you.
Thank you so much. You know, every time I reflect on this journey to Addis, and when the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga presented himself for the very first time to the people, there are certain things he said. And you see, if you read Rule 38, where the AU elects the chairperson and the deputy. The requirements are that they're looking for competent women and men with a good track record in leadership. And we have looked at Raila Amolo Odinga's track record. And I started by saying, this is a gentleman who all his life, he has fought for democracy, not only in Kenya, but also in Africa. His Pan-African vision, he has demonstrated it, not only through demonstration, but also through commitment. He has committed his life through Pan-Africanism. And therefore, I strongly believe that even though this is a competition, but Raila Odinga starts above the rest based on his history in political leadership and experience, Pan-African vision and commitment, commitment to the economic and infrastructure development, and the rest. And also, I have also observed Raila Odinga's campaign. He had a team, or he still has a team, that was committed to this campaign. And they have gone all out to reach out on a one-on-one basis to these heads of state. And you have seen that. I didn't see the others. Maybe they were doing it silently. But I was very interested in our candidate. As a Kenyan, it is a patriotic duty. I've seen people saying that they support the candidature of other, candidates who are not Kenyans, and they are Kenyans. If there is a time that Kenyans should be patriotic, is when one of their own is competing on the global stage. I give you an example. When our marathoners go out there to run, we all support them, irrespective of political affiliations, our religion, irrespective, and we wish them the best. This is the time that not only a Kenyan, but Raila Odinga from East Africa, representing the entire population in a stage that is likely to impact positively on the lives of Africans, because he has sold his vision to the people of Africa. And I tell you that the entire Africa wish him well, and I believe that with this, we have been talking about the outcome tomorrow. But the only two outcomes are you.
Okay. Is it the win or
Raila Odinga wins the AUC chairmanship, or he loses. But the Raila Amolo Odinga we know is the Raila Amolo Odinga that whatever happens, his legacy in terms of unifying the Kenyan people, the African people, his legacy in terms of democratic principles, his legacy in terms of giving the best in terms of political leadership cannot be shaken. Right. So we are confident that tomorrow, Raila Amolo Odinga, having shown this, and I just wanted to tell you three things that in my view, Ayub, will determine this. Number one, very fast, diplomatic engagement. Yeah. We have seen the level of diplomatic engagement that this country has put forward to ensure that they secure Raila Odinga's win. Number two, strategic alliances. You saw yesterday, a bloc SADC encouraged their members to vote for the Madagascar candidate, Richard. But they did not say that they have resolved. They just encouraged. Number three, the vision and agenda of every candidate. Raila Odinga's vision and agenda, for sure, has gone into the hearts of majority of the head of state. And lastly, the geopolitical dynamics based on the interest of some of these major powers that are influencing the African AU politics.
So did the other candidates also present their vision the same? They had diplomatic engagements, their strategic alliance,
absolutely,
as pointed out, and then the geopolitical aspect. So it's not given, is it? Coming to you, Honorable Njeri, because the last time in 2017 when Ambassador Amina Mohammed lost, she lost to little known then at the time, Musa Faki Mahamat, because all the predictions were either Amina or Abdullahi Bathily from Senegal. Then out of the blues, because of these alliances that Fred mentions, there comes Musa Faki Mahamat. So it isn't given, is it, that this is not on a silver platter?
Of course, it's not given, but I think we can all agree that there has been extensive lobbying, especially even by the head of state himself, the president. We have seen him go on personal tours to canvass for votes for the AU seat. And I think perhaps what will be working in his favor, in Raila Odinga's favor, is you know, the lethargy of continuity of the certain leaders that we've seen of AU. So I think that is going to be working in his favor, because I believe that African head of states will feel that perhaps we need to inject a new and fresh perspective. I think it's very close when Amina had her bid, but you know what happens, we say that kwa ground mambo ni tofauti. But now that we have over 50 MPs there, I believe they should be able to also do a part. It shouldn't be that they're just going there to, you know, to just watch or count the votes, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be wasted. The efforts that we have put, the taxpayers' money that has been spent on this AU bid, it should count for something.
It's an election after all, is it? And it's a democratic secret ballot election. Yesterday, the Dagoretti North MP Honorable Mukunje, your colleague in Parliament, Beatrice Alachi, said they will be there to morally support because they play no role at all, given, of course, you understand how the hallways of the AUC headquarters in Addis works. But nonetheless, though, on the particular aspect of the vision he presented, for example, peace and security, self-sufficiency, strategic placement of the continent, how do you think then that the three who will be battling it out will significantly contribute to Africa's progress, given what we had witnessed in America and in Europe, the inward-looking policies now, which are more or less characterizing global politics?
Ayub, let me just say first that I believe there is a need also to disclose the resources used for the candidature of AU for Raila. And I saw an engagement where people were saying, somebody went to say no resources from taxpayers that should be used in such a way. And so we expect to get such issues and reports. Either he wins or loses. I believe that will be justice for the Kenyan people who have very few resources at their disposals, and there's a need for government to always be prudent in the use of its resources. But
as a parliamentarian, you sit in a house that allocates resources, also oversights, can call for these books when so required. So what do you do? What do you intend to do about that?
Exactly, but I have been very keen to get information on what resources were used, but it is hard to find. And I believe we need to press more to know exactly these private jets, meeting of the presidents, the whole delegation and its massiveness in the Addis. We need to know exactly what resources they are using, and it should be in a way that it is making sense to the Kenyan people.
From which of us did you seek the clarifications and you never got answers?
No. Treasury and also in the budget lines of Parliament.
But these are individuals who hold constitutional offices and they can appear before the National Assembly, which functions in committees.
Absolutely.
And still accountability doesn't go away, is it, regardless?
So that's why I've said we are going to push more and see exactly what resources have been used.
Okay.
And whether it's value for money for Kenya. But now, coming to your question, I happened to be in Addis when Raila Odinga was launching his campaigns. I was there with a different group of young members of parliament from Africa, and we were doing a certain engagement on Africa debt levels. But of course, I popped in to see the launch. Of course, everybody knows Raila Odinga is a man who knows his history very well. He knows Africa, he knows what to say at what time. And, well, I would say is a person who, without a doubt, would serve Africa in the position in a good way. But I also say that I feel the president sounds more desperate for Raila's win more than Raila himself. And of course that is because of the local politics that we normally have around. And the fact that he looks like he's a serious threat to the 2027 re-election. And I would say that, of course, and I want to repeat, that I believe a better conversation on this matter is when Raila either wins or loses tomorrow. But of course, without a doubt, his manifesto on Africa is something that I have read, and it is recommendable. But also, I mean, this is a position that also comes with its own challenges. And let me say that being a young leader also in Africa, I also feel sad when I see countries such as Congo and that have resources that are beyond imagination, going because of issues of interest, foreign interference, the levels of Africa against ourselves Africans. We have a lot to work on in terms of what we need to put right in the table when it comes to African Union.
Okay. And do you think any of the three candidates, given the presentations they had done of their vision and what they intend to do for the continent, can therefore address this very long-standing, more than 30 years, still unresolved in eastern part of the democratic?
I was very keen to, I didn't hear Raila speak much about Congo issue when just the other day there was war at Goma. And I was very eager to hear his mind. But of course, I know he kept it mute because of the politics of the AUC chair, because he could have said something that disappoints the other people, which is actually the case that has actually held Africa hostage. The fact that we don't want to even disappoint our masters. We want to remain loyal to our Britain masters, our French, our, and that is something that I feel like we should leave and bring Africa together. And even the rebels in Congo, these are Africans. They're being used by other countries. It's important. We need to go beyond our masters and see local solutions for our local issues as Africa.
One final question on this before we shift our attention to Bunge. Honorable Baina, do you think then that Africa is in the right trajectory in ending neocolonialism, which appears to be happening despite many years of post-independent African states? And you had seen the influence many countries have with the former colonial masters on Africa. And do you see that vision in the three candidates who will be battling out tomorrow in Addis?
Ayub, from where I sit, there are right institutions that are in place. We have the regional economic blocks, the SADC, the EAC, the ECOWAS, the northern part. We have quite, and the central part, we have regional economic blocks. These are institutions that complement the efforts of African Union towards economic, social, and political development of the continent. But be that as it may, I believe that there are quite a number of reforms that we need to undertake at the African Union level, and also at the REX level, where development and initiatives at these regional economic blocks and also the continental body, they need to be funded by the African states. we still depend on foreign organizations and international development partners to fund our development and to fund even operations of these institutions. Honestly, you can't tell me that I'm funding your operations as an organization. Let me use EAC as a factor. We have a challenge of funding at EAC, even to date. Countries that are not remitting their finances. As a member of parliament in EAC, I revoked Article 143 of EAC establishment back in 2023, where I was talking to the heads of state summit and council of ministers that they should be sanctioning countries that are not remitting or that are not fulfilling their financial obligations. You find a country is a member of EAC and it is not remitting its finances. Where do you expect us to get resources to operate and even do basic development at the regional level? You have to go back to other development partners. When those development partners are coming to fund your operations and other financial obligations that you have, they will come with certain conditions. They will come with certain conditions.
And that exactly is happening. Maina, to just pause you, because if you look at the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, for example, it's funded by the European Union.
Imagine.
How can that happen? Honorable Mukunji pointed out the crisis in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the proxy hands from foreign players in perpetuating the conflict. Then how can this be resolved? I mean, should then the African Union vision be more than even the elections and focus on such things? And do you think 3 of the candidates have presented what could otherwise be a remedy to this problem?
I think the African Union as a whole, the decisions are made at the heads of state summit and the ministers of foreign affairs. As much as we will leave it to the bureaucrats of AU, African Union, the Secretariat to navigate around this area. The heads of state summit and council of ministers, particularly the foreign affairs ministers, they need to bite the nail, they need to hit the nail on the head and talk to each other candidly. I remember President Kagame had quite a number of reforms before they were shut down by his colleagues around the funding model of African Union. And it is the same conversation we're having it at the EAC level, where countries are asking themselves, should we be talking to each other and, to the point that the largest economy within EAC contributes more, and then it is given a leeway to make certain decisions at EAC level, or should we be contributing equally? Because as it is now, it is equally. This equal contribution is not making sense because some countries have their priorities in terms of, they have some challenges in terms of the economy. So for me, I think there are a number of reforms, and I really want to, I have had our candidate, that is Raila Odinga, speaking to the issue of the independence, the financial independence of the African states, and also the African Union. I really want to urge him that when he, because it's a matter of when he reaches this seat, he really need to talk to his colleagues, the presidents of African states, in regards to how they can have a sustainable financing model of African Union operations and development initiatives, other than depending on development partners. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's now turn our attention to a parliament where the 3 of you sit, though, in Arusha, and Honorable Mukunji and Maina and Jerry in Nairobi. And Fred, I start with you. Is Parliament living its purpose, given what has been happening in our country, and coming to the specific legislations on how they have progressed so far to the 2 respective members of the National Assembly?
Thank you, Ayub. It is important to always remind ourselves the role of Parliament in this country. And specifically, I want to turn your attention to the National Assembly. The representation in the National Assembly have got a huge task. They are tasked constitutionally to represent the interests of the people in their constituencies and special interests, of which young people are part of. They address issues of concern to the people and resolve them. They legislate and they also oversight. if you are to measure their performance on those three parameters, then we can confidently say that they have performed better or they have failed. We have seen before reports come out on performance of members of parliament, and some parameters have been used to gauge that. But largely speaking, I would tell you that every house has got a different season where they perform. Today, the National Assembly and the Senate, looking at their constitutional duties, they have done whatever they have done. Might not be the perfect, but that's what they have done. Who put them there? The public who voted for them. Njeri here and Mkunju were voted by the public. So if they don't perform, it is up to the public, their constituencies that put them in office to remove them come next election, or to move them midterm through, recall clauses that are there in the Constitution. I am a believer of engagement, and I want to specifically speak about young parliamentarians, and some of them are here. The young parliamentarians enjoy advantage, the advantage of protection in the Constitution. It is the Constitution of Kenya, Ayub, that has given provisions of promotion of the interest and representation of the young people in Parliament. Article 100. The same Constitution has guaranteed the young people protection and to ensure that they are represented in their economic, social, and political life. So, our young parliamentarians or politicians enjoy massive support from the Supreme Law. What is it that makes them not to perform? What makes them not to perform in the eyes of observers is they have endeared themselves into bad politics of the country, where you see others, because the leadership says, now we have to go to Amunyoro, they'll head to Amunyoro. Then the others say, the leadership says, now we have to head to, I don't know where, they'll head where? I am a believer, Ayub, that as we progress, the young parliamentarians must now demonstrate to the old parliamentarians that in the era that we are going into, it is the young people leading in parliament. But let me tell you, that has not come without some disadvantages. We have also seen some young parliamentarians who have shown bad manners. For example, those who go against the parliamentary proceedings and start recording the proceedings through their Twitter, Facebook, I don't know what. Those are bad manners. So some of them also have gone out there.
Peter Salasya.
No, I have not mentioned anyone. I'm just saying.
It's on record, no problem.
I'm just saying, the speaker who said that they should not do that.
Yeah.
So I want to believe the speaker. The speaker is the one running the show. So, in my view, as I conclude on this, Ayub, Njeri here and Mkunju and even Korobia must demonstrate that whatever level they represent at whatever house, whether it is Legislative Assembly, Statutory Legislative Assembly, whether it is National Assembly, whether it is Senate, they must represent the interest of young people, not only themselves, because that has not come out. And that's why you look at their performance. Let me give an example. The 13th Parliament, the first session, 2022, out of the 131 legislative proposals, do you know 31 were from the young members? And in subsequent sessions, out of I think 187 something, 80 were from the young members. That's 40%. So they have done fairly well, but I think as we progress, there's need and room to improve. And that's why we'd want to see young members come 2027 in that house. And some of us will be there.
Yes, Honorable Njeri, then how does all this play out in a gallery where the party leadership always favors you take their directions? For example, in the case of what we had witnessed in the Finance Bill of 2024 and the fallout thereafter between the president and the former deputy president. But that in light of this moment, how do you then undertake your responsibilities in this gallery of confusions and at times mixed signals?
That is actually what I wanted to raise in regard to checking the performance of young members and in general all members of parliament. Ayub, when the Kenya Kwanza government was canvassing for votes, we had the plan. We made several promises to the Kenyan people, to the young people of this nation, to the Mamamboga, and to the farmers of this nation. And when we took over power, and I think nearly 1 year into government, I had concerns that I voiced in regard to our performance and how we were engaging the public. And we know that politics in Kenya, purely, mostly based on, parties and parties that do not have foundational ideologies, and parties that every 5 years we see a rebrand and basically the same people but a different name. So when we question Parliament and the role of young members on the floor, we also must be alive to the political temperatures of this nation. And you find that oftentimes a lot of members, when it narrows down to individual members, they are unable to balance between the political interests of the party and the interest of the people they represent.
But why should that be a struggle? Because it's the people who are the sovereign wielders of power, not the political party or the leadership of the party.
I'm walking you through that, which is why you find that a lot of members who are allied to Kenya Kwanza, even though Kenyans were unequivocally against the Finance Bill 2024, were unable to vote no for the Finance Bill because the party position for Kenya Kwanza was to vote for the Finance Bill. The party position for Azimio was to vote against the Finance Bill. Mukonji and I actually went against the grain and the party position to vote against the Finance Bill because we understood that we have to represent the interests of our people. That comes at a price. Ayub. It comes at a consequence. You have seen just recently, I think yesterday, that senators who were purported to be allied to Rigathi Gachagua were removed out of their the chairperson seats for various committees. So every political decision that you make on the floor of Parliament, whether it is for the people that you represent or whether you're making it for the party that you are allied to, it comes at a price. We have paid a heavy price as young people. Mukonji can attest to this, for saying no to the Finance Bill of 2024. Again, we paid a heavy price for saying no to the impeachment of the then Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. And that is why I always say that Parliament as an institution, the independence of Parliament is a mirage. And I would want to see how Azimio and quote-unquote ODM will be voting in the 2025 Finance Bill. We know we have a budget of 4.2 trillion, higher than last year's proposed budget. And I don't think that we have any room to push the taxes on the payroll of taxpayers. So I believe that we will be introducing perhaps new taxes so that we can have a whole new bracket of taxpayers. So I will want to see how they vote, whether it is based on their personal conviction or whether it is on party position now that they're in government.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, no, Mkunji, you have a point? You wanted to contribute?
Yeah, of course. First, I want to actually say that Okango here was mentioning Salasia misbehaving.
No,
and,
that's not true.
I was...
he mentioned without naming names.
Without naming,
but it's in the Hansard. He apologized.
But I would say...
The consequence was he was to appear before the House's Powers and Privileges Committee.
Yeah, but that was just also not right for the Speaker, because I was very keen to go to our standing orders, and there's nothing that says you cannot even do your video in the chambers. But I would say also maybe that is a gap that we need to bridge, where we have new ways of communicating these days, and TikTok is one of them, and Salasi allows TikTok.
And you understand that the media is not allowed to cover live the proceedings of Parliament, except getting the feed from the Parliament.
You're a member of Parliament. You are actually protected when you're in those chambers. So
up to what level? Broadcasting live on your Facebook account?
Yeah. Why not? I mean, it is what is going on. That's a house of the people. People need to understand Parliament is a house of the people.
So
it cannot be censored.
Yeah, the
you can't censor
Honorable Mukunji, the contributions at the floor of the National Assembly are made with regard to one procedures of the House, which in this case goes to the Hansards for record, and as the Speaker, who's supposed to be the arbiter in this case. Therefore, anything contrary to that, including we, the media, who are locked out, but we tap to the advantage of the Parliamentary Broadcast Unit, therefore falls outside the standing orders.
Any issue that brings some sort of censorship and gagging in what happens in that floor of the people is actually something that should be discouraged. We need to do more visibility in what happens in
chair,
that.
isn't it?
If there's a fight in that house, it should be broadcasted.
Yeah.
And that is my belief. It's part of freedom of
expression. As a member of Parliament, for example, you understand that you communicate and put your contributions through the chair, who is the Speaker.
Yeah, live.
Anything contrary to that is not part of the standing order.
As a matter of fact, whenever there is a session, it is actually very well broadcasted in the Parliament Live, Bunge Live, YouTube, and these other platforms. And I believe, Parliament need to embrace TikTok and others, because it is obvious that that is a new technology.
House of procedures.
Yes.
I think Mukunji
just a minute, Okango. Just a minute.
As you
Okango.
your point, Mukunji wants to abuse the privileges he enjoys in Parliament. You see, when you go live during the session and you start commenting, you are a commentator on your own live platform while the proceedings are going on. Really?
Let's go as per the standing order
and the procedures of the House.
Does the standing order
the only book
live and commentate on your
it does not say you should not.
No, I'm asking you, does it allow you?
It doesn't say you should not. It doesn't say you should not. You can do anything that is not limited by what is standing orders and the Constitution of Kenya.
So we agreed that any proceedings other than that is chaired by the Speaker is contrary to the standing orders. Settle them.
Why would you say that, Ayub? But let's not get... We'll use a lot of time on that. But because I'm the chairman, the young parliamentarians, Ayub, I believe you'll give me a few more minutes.
Yes, please.
So that I can be able to handle this in a good way. And let me first say that, of course, I'm the chairman, young parliamentarians, just for less than a year, because I took it over last year. And I want to say one of the privileges of getting to the National Assembly and also the Senate, because I'm the chairman and parliamentarians for both Senate, National Assembly, and also the East Africa legislative organ. It is a privilege to get that chance to be a young member in the House. But I also want to say that it also is a big task, considering that most of the things that are going wrong in our country and also our continent rotate around the young people of this nation and our continent. And I would say also there is also a disparity between your own individual achievement as a young member of Parliament vis-a-vis a group achievement. And I believe as a person, individually, first you have to define as a leader who you are. That is also a very difficult thing as a young member of Parliament, because rarely do you find a chance to define yourself and say, this is what I stand for as a leader. And without a doubt, Honorable Njeri has touched on a few of decisions that have come to the floor of the House that are really difficult for young members, and that you as an individual has to know which direction you want to take and do it right. And let me say, on the legislative side, which is also very key, the young members have done fantastic when it comes to bringing bills in the House.
That's true.
I have actually complained to the Speaker on the issue of individual-sponsored bills. We have a big crisis where it is government business that has overtaken everything else against what individual members are pushing. Honorable Njeri here, who is also a very vibrant participant in our activities, as a bill on Kenya School of Law matters. I personally have a bill on a digital labor bill, which is looking at what our young people, many of them, are doing. But these bills have not yet even gotten to the floor of the House because of that part of government business taking everything. And I hope this year, and it was mentioned even during our retreat, that we need to look at those things in a better way. We have bills, a life-changing bill of whistleblower protection by one of our members. And these are bills that can change this country completely in matters to do with corruption. And that is only part of legislation. On matters to do with contribution and things such as motions, I believe young members have also stood out seriously. And I remember in my very young entry to the National Assembly, and WorldCoin guys were doing all manner of things around Nairobi. We brought a motion, I and my young members brought a motion that even ended up being an inquiry. And that WorldCoin was banned. Up to now, they have not been able to get back. They are trying to lure. I've seen the CS, the new minister Kabogo, meeting the owner of OpenAI the other day. And all these things we have done also with the difficult and challenging situation of this ranking member thing that is a tag that normally gives a chance to members that have been in the House for 3-4 terms against the new entry of the young members of parliament. But the key thing, Ayub, that I want to tell you that we have decided to take seriously this year, and we have a lot of things that we have discussed, is the budget making process. And we have realized that this country cannot change if we continue just talking without keenly looking at how budget is made. The issue of unfairness in regions, in places that you find somebody getting a lot of money for his roads and the neighbor is getting nothing, is something that is happening on the floor of the House. And we have decided to take it up seriously. You're going to see a lot of fights from young members of parliament to ensure equitable distribution of resources in this country. We don't want to leave the budget to State House, because that means if you are not aligned to the president, you are not getting anything. And it shows that that is where we are going to put a lot of effort to ensure that whatever budget we have, the development budget that I've seen is around 750 billion, must be equitably shared to every constituency and every part of this country. The other part that is also very key,
I'll come to
in consideration...
Still on the budget?
Yes, no, it's another point in terms of how members have been doing. We also faced a new uprising last year, the Gen Z demonstrations. And we sat down as young members. We realized that one of the things that caused this was lack of young people having a voice and a delinkment between the leaders, especially the young leaders, and the young people in the streets. So we, together with our development partners, we have come together with an elaborate program where we are engaging opinion leaders of our young people, and we have already started. We had a very good forum at the Kenya School of Government. We have had another one in the National Assembly in a way that we can have the memorandum getting to the House. And we are now going deeper into the levels of mashinani, in the county levels and the constituency levels, so that the voice of the young people does not end in the street, but it can be channeled to where it can make an impact in the National Assembly and the Senate. And so,
yes, Honorable Maina, have the voices of young Kenyans changed the landscape forever, given the discontent that they expressed during the Finance Bill 2024 and beyond, even outlined serious governance issues that they said ought to be addressed?
I think, Ayub, looking at the issues of last year and even the current issues, that are happening, the voices of young people are taking a mainstream in terms of shaping the political landscape of our country. And only an ignorant politician would say that I will not listen to these people, let me do as I wish. I think from where I sit, the young people have really expressed themselves. Even members of parliament, you can bear me witness. That's why you are finding some of them going live on their social medias, because they want to engage the young people. They want to come to them where they are.
You need to encourage that.
So for me, I think the happenings around the opinions of young people has really shaped our politics. And that's why you are finding, as I've told you, people are now shifting to where young people are in terms of wanting to engage them, wanting to listen to them, and what have you. And that's why you found even the president around late last year, he started going to town hall meetings to at least listen to them, at least engage to them, explain also government programs that he is undertaking, so that you create awareness around what you're doing. Allow me to really commend the 13th Parliament of where young people or young parliamentarians are doing quite a lot. For me, Ayub, from an outsider point of view, operating from another parliament, I'm very happy with the young parliamentarians that we have in our country. Because at least we are finding them, even the rankings that we are receiving from various pollsters, they are ranking young members of parliament. They are showing that young members of parliament are impactful in terms of representation, in terms of legislation. You have found the kind of bills Honorable Njeri Maina and Honorable Mokonji and other members of parliament are bringing to the House in terms of representation, oversight, and legislation. Okay. I think for me, where I sit, compared to other parliaments, the 13th Parliament, young MPs are doing commendable jobs, even in terms of development initiatives, in terms of improving the state of schools, in terms of securities and access roads. For me, I find young MPs are doing quite well, and pollsters are actually proving that right. When I meet with them, as a colleague point of view, you hear the kind of talks and discussions they are having. Are just about, let me put this development to my people. Okay. How can I engage a certain development partner so that that development partner supports my program in my constituency or in my county? So for me, I'm encouraged, and I think let's support leaders that are doing well, and let's have that grace and the discernment to recognize somebody who is impactful on the ground. Yeah. Okay. And I think as citizens, and I want to call upon our people that you shouldn't look at the political alignment of a person. Look at the impactfulness of that person on the ground. And that's why, for me, Ayub, I want to take this opportunity and say that if we have seen young members of parliament becoming impactful, there is a current discussion around the constituting the IEBC. I wouldn't mind if we have a young person becoming a commissioner. The median age of Kenyans is the median age of Kenya, the Kenyan population is 19 years. We cannot close our eyes and ears and say that we don't want, and say that a young person doesn't deserve to be a commissioner. I think it is time we have a conversation around having the voices of young people, even in the electoral bodies, so that these people are the commissioners of IBC, are the midwives of the elections. If we want to have young people having a voice in terms of being elected in 2027, let us have a commissioner who is under 35 years. Yeah,
and Honorable Njeri Maina, beyond the proposal by Honorable Maina Karobia that the young people ought also to occupy spaces within constitutional commissions and offices, including the IBC, how can then the young people, I mean, of your age who you do represent Kirinyaga, but by extension, of course, they relate with you more easily, export the anger on the streets to the ballot, because that's the only voice and the only opportunity where they can change the leadership. And get, it's not beyond reach, a parliament made up by a majority young people and advance the interests of Kenyans who are the majority if you look at our demography.
I've said oftentimes that young people ought to engage more constructively, and not only on the streets. because I think the shortfall of the 2024 finance bill protests, which was majorly led by young people, was that, you know, when even the president gave them an opportunity to have a conversation and have a way forward. If you recall, young people declined. And for me, I believe that there are only two ways to engage in governance. You're either in the system or you're running the system. Clearly, young people are not running the system.
Okay. Are they in the system?
They're not in the system either. And the opportunity that the president was giving them, and I'm still of the same opinion to date, is that he was giving them an opportunity to be in the system. So how can young people be in the system in 2027? They can only do so if they are going to vie for political positions. I do not believe that we will change this country only through activism. It is a phase, and it is an aspect that will help shape our democracy and conversations that we have. But if we really want to impact on policy changes, legislation, just imagine, Ayub, if we had like half members of parliament who are below 35 years. We would shape the conversation in regard even to artificial intelligence, which is so much behind. And you've heard Mokonji talking about OpenAI, Sam Altman, and when they brought that, they were doing the what were they? The
WorldCoin.
Yeah, the WorldCoin, iScan. And these are conversations that we ought to have, but constructive conversations that actually lead to results. We saw when young people went to the streets, the beneficiaries were politicians. It is not the young people, the issues that they were raising during the protests: high unemployment, accountability by the government and institutions of governance. Those issues have not been addressed because we were not having that conversation in a constructive manner. I was with Caswell just the other day and Nerima Wako, and we were saying we have to have a plan as young people. Because if we do not have a plan, then we will not see change even in 2027. And a young person is not going to be young forever. I'm going to be over 35 at some point. Even they will be old at some point. So if we do not agree on a way forward, even if we have different political affiliations as young people, so that we can address concerns in regards to ensuring that government and parliament specifically addresses the concerns of young people, that we hold our leaders accountable. I can tell you for a fact that I know Karobia didn't mention this. Mzalendo Trust report issued a report where Mukunji and I were some of the most vocal members of parliament addressing concerns in regards to bills we've raised on the floor, statements and motions that we've brought. I was also ranked by Infotrack for the second year in a row as a best performing county MP. So how do we have more young people on board? Because without that, then I don't think we'll make any changes. So we have to ensure that, one, they register as voters, and they also come out to vote in 2027. And they also vie for political positions in 2027 and canvass around people that speak to their ideologies, so that we can get members of parliament who are younger and push the agenda for the young people.
Yeah, and Fred, can that be achieved? Is the remedy to that the formation of a mega political party that is driven by the interests of young Kenyans? Is that achievable?
I think it's achievable if there's goodwill. And I want to agree with my co-panelists that you see, you have been asking as a media, what is the future of Parliament? And I can tell you the future of Parliament is young people. I am looking forward to a situation where, in the coming years, Parliament shall constitute people who are 45 and below, because they bring a different perspective into how you legislate, how you represent, and how you oversight based on advancement of time and technology. Number two, in this country, we have a higher population of young people who are knowledgeable and qualified. And there's nothing wrong with associating or joining different political parties. But there's one tribe that they belong to, the tribe of the young people. So if the agenda that they put in place is to represent the interest of other Kenyans, and also specifically for young people, then there's nothing stopping them from achieving what you're asking. But I started by saying earlier, Ayub, that we have the advantage as a country. The states, any state, any government of the day, is mandated to ensure that they guarantee these young people certain provisions. They must guarantee them the benefit of representation in politics, economic, and social life, and other spheres. When that is implemented, then even those issues of political representation we'll be talking about. Korobia said that he would want to see a young commissioner come April this year, when the panel finishes their job. I agree with him. Actually, we have young people who are qualified. But you see, there's this thing of, experience. We need 10 years, I don't know, 15 years. What is experience? Experience is something that you do on a daily basis, whether it is official or unofficial. That is experience. So for me, I am looking forward to spaces where young people can be spotted doing what they know best in a better way to benefit the majority of the people of this country. They have demonstrated. Njeri has talked about the participation of the young people in rejecting some of the punitive bills that we have seen in this country before. I agree. They came together. They said they don't want this, and the president listened to them. The president even engaged them, called them for a discussion. How about the young people today mobilize themselves in a formidable force that is respectful and guaranteeing themselves a space on the table? Because if you are not on that table, you'll be on the menu, you'll be eaten. I want to ask all of them, in Parliament and outside Parliament, that come 2027, if you want to make a difference in this country, either through elective, appointive, or rational politics, then you must organize yourself into groups that will make an impact, not only for yourself, but also for the majority.
Yeah, and how can that happen, Honorable Mukunji, given that much of the energies of the young people were absorbed by major political parties in the run-up to the 2022 elections? I mean, what would be the guiding factor towards the drive to have one major outfit that that will otherwise lead to the emancipation of young Kenyans here in the country politically?
Well, Ayub, let me first say that, of course, when you talk of putting young people together, it's not an easy thing. And you need to realize that, as Honorable Njeri mentioned a while back, on matters of same monkeys, different forests. It happens that every political party, even the one that has no policy for the young people, will align accordingly to ensure they get those votes. I've seen politicians now have a way of even going. If you're older, 60, you go with your son. Your son speaks on your behalf so that you can tap into that Gen Z system. But Ayub, let me first say that I've seen the more you stay in the system, the more you're compromised. I've sat down with many of my friends who are members of parliament, without mentioning names, but you find somebody cannot defy the president or his party, even if his people in the constituency are saying no to something.
Can you?
I have done it before. I have said no to the finance bill. Actually, I will tell you, I used to be a very close friend to the president until I voted no to the finance bill.
Finance Bill 2024.
Yes. And
then you voted for Finance Bill 2023, now an act of parliament.
2023, I voted yes to the finance bill.
Finance bill.
We were very new in government.
Yeah.
The president was very clear that you guys have to give me tools for me to be able to work. So I need these resources, do this and this, please, so that we can have more collections. And I voted yes.
So you
but in 2024...
You did not read the bill?
I read them. What do you mean?
2023.
I'm a very keen reader of them.
So
I was one of the person who had reservations to the 2023 bill.
You supported the introduction of the House.
Just a moment. Let me just clarify so that you understand. Okay. But we have just gotten to the National Assembly. Yes. The president is saying we have made a bill that is going to increase our collection to 2.5 trillion. So I expressed my preservations directly to him. And he told me, first of all, we cannot say we want to do this and this and change this and this without resources. So in 2023, I voted yes to the finance bill, 2023. In 2024...
Okay, before 2024 then.
2024.
So you went through and you are convinced that the resources would otherwise have been gotten through the money bill, which was the finance bill.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And what did the people of Manyata tell you?
They were also very okay with that. In 2023, we didn't have a lot of uproar when it comes to the finance bill. Actually, the finance bill 2024 is the one that had a lot of uproar because people actually were like, okay, you added taxes the other day.
Okay.
You can't add more, and we have not seen anything. It was very clear.
The other also added taxes, because if you look at...
The 2023 bill added taxes.
Yeah, 90% of Kenyans who appeared before the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning said no, yet Parliament was dead against it.
You need to realize that...
a bill that Kenyans had said was punitive at the time?
You need to realize that I am one of the most consultative member of Parliament. And that is why I said no to the Finance Bill 2024. Because in the year 2023, when we were passing the Finance Bill, the people of Manyata and the people I spoke to, and if you go to even my records, you'll see me doing public participation online to understand the people's thought on it. The people didn't have a big problem with it. Actually, many people from actually the stronghold of where I come from, the president was voted immensely.
Embu County.
Embu County. Were not having a problem with it.
Well, and why did then the people of Embu County, why did then boo the president when he talked about...
I think you're confusing two parts.
I'm coming to the point. Yeah,
2023...
I'm coming to the point.
I want to tell you, after 2023, the president visited Embu, and he got a standing ovation.
It's what he said that led to the booing, what prompted the booing factor. Because it's some of the introductions made as a result of the finance bill. For example, when he talked about housing, the people said, no, it isn't. He talked about healthcare. They said no in his presence. That's the people of Embu County.
This is in 2024?
Yes.
Not 2023.
So the introductions were done then of the housing levy, for example, by the Finance Act of 2000.
Now, let me tell you, between the 2023 and 2024, after giving the resources and the mandate for the president to implement, in between then and now, the issue of implementation and seeing value for money from the people, it's obviously nobody is satisfied. And even the people in government are not satisfied. They are saying, we know the president will do something later. So it is it is in between the 2023 and the 2024 bill that now was coming with a new lot of increment in taxes, where people are like, this one is not making sense. And when he came to Embu, actually he mentioned those things. He was told we are not satisfied with it because we are not seeing results. We are not happy with your results.
All right.
When a president tells you that we actually need these resources, this is how we want to get them for us to achieve this and this, you are supposed to support him. But if there's no that part of achievement, now the problem is very clear. Many Kenyans have been very clear that they don't have a problem with paying taxes. They have a problem with the issues, and I mean with the usage of tax that are collected.
And they have a problem when their member of parliament doesn't listen to them.
Just a minute.
And listens to the president, not the public.
Of course,
I mean, Look, the head of state draws, at the best interest of time, I need to move on to Honorable Maina. To make it clear, Honorable Mukunji,
you will have done me a lot of injustice if I don't bring my point
Yes,
forward.
you will bring your point, but to just make it clear also that the head of state also draws the power from the public.
Very good.
Therefore, you have to listen to your people, not the president.
Are you saying I don't listen to the people?
You voted against, you voted for what they said was punitive.
Which one?
Which they booed the president for.
The 2024
and
bill,
you just
I voted no. The finance bill.
This gentleman voted no.
He voted yes for the Finance Act of 2023.
2024, I voted no to the finance bill. I have been on the street, actually, Ayub, fighting for the young people, the Billy Mwangi. I led demonstrations, and it is because of those demonstrations that we were able to find these young people. And also, I listened to the people when they said, we don't want you to go and impeach the deputy president. I went there and said no categorically. I listened to my people keenly, and I will always listen to my people. My people are the strength. And I cannot allow you to say that I don't listen to them. It will not be acceptable. My friend.
Yes.
We are finally landed.
Yes.
The flight is down there. Yes, your final word here before we sample the feedback. Generally, then, how do we move away from what, for example, now the honourable member has pointed out here? He said yes to the first instance of the Finance Act. He said no to the bill in 2024. I mean, the aspect of independence and how Parliament undertakes its functions.
I think from where I sit, moving forward, members of Parliament should continue consulting widely, consult the officers in place, consult the people, consult office bearers, because indeed, as much as people want a certain way, things to go a certain way, you as a leader should also be there to provide direction to the people. The reason as to why Maina Karobe is elected Member of Parliament in the East Africa Legislative Assembly is not only to come and listen to members of Parliament in Kenya, and I just go with the way members of Parliament in Kenya are saying. I think I have a moral responsibility to tell them, gentlemen and ladies, listen, what you're saying is not the correct thing. You also need to listen, you also need to follow this route. I think from where I sit, you are a leader when you take people not to the popular side, but to where they deserve to be. That's why people have given you a social contract of 5 years. People might see something like it is unpopular, but you as a leader has a moral authority to tell them, for the greater good of this republic, for the greater good of your livelihoods, I think you should follow this route. Because later on, these people will ask you, but you are there, you should have guided us appropriately. So I think leaders should be able to balance between what is the popular way of doing things vis-a-vis where people deserve to be. But all these things will be, for us to be progressive as a nation. My part in short will be what I have said earlier. We have seen when we send young members of Parliament to Parliament, when we send leaders to positions of authority, they are becoming responsive, they are becoming impactful. I think it is time we also increase the number of representation of young people in spaces of influence. And the only way to do that is by having the correct representation of young people in the electoral body, which is IEBC.
Thank you. Let's now sample the feedback here on the broadcast, lady and gentlemen, and see what the honorable people are saying who are watching this broadcast. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422. Gabi Wakasiaka says Raila Odinga's tenure as AU High Representative for Infrastructure prepared him for this moment. His leadership will accelerate Africa's connectivity and trade opportunities. Next is also from another viewer who says, Babu Michael K. says, when it comes to AUC elections, I feel this time Kenya and Raila is the best placed for this seat. All matter. But into consideration, it's no doubt we have placed a very objective campaign across the continent. The next, also on X, formerly Twitter, says Talaya_Kilel, Raila Odinga's candidacy for the African Union Commission chair symbolizes Kenya's ongoing commitment to Pan-Africanism and the continent's collective success. Africa deserves a leader who puts its interests first. Next up is also from Agumba Steve, who says, it's quite unfortunate that the side you take in any government legislation will make you suffer either positively or negatively, depending on your party or electorate's view. It's high time the youthful MPs stand for what is right despite their coalition's decisions. Also, the next one comes from Sir Nixon Ndugura, who says budgeted corruption has been a grave concern to many auditors with no answers found at the end of it. I highly hope that the Kenya African Union Commission engagement is as ethical as possible. All the best, he says to Baba. Also this one, the next coming up from Godi Barasawere, he says, our young parliamentarians should understand that we voted them for one mission, which is legislating or coming up with laws that will safeguard the future of the young generation. We also have the next one coming up from Okello Mwalimu, who says the worst mistake that we can ever do is to over-rely on pollsters. I think it's in relation to the performance of MPs by Infotrack, which was released on Wednesday. Remy Butia says a majority of youthful MPs have surrendered their concerns to parochial party politics. There's no major progressive bill brought to the National Assembly which can solely be identified with a youthful member of parliament. I think they have elaborated on the bills that some of the young parliamentarians had sponsored. Frank Orinda, they say some of the youthful MPs came in with big promises, but they are living up to, but are they living up to the expectation? Some have been silent in parliament, others in scandals, while they remain absent in key national debates. Well, thanks for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Much appreciated for your presence here on the broadcast. Njeri Maina is the woman MP representing the county of Kirinyaga. Thanks for your time. Fred Okango is political strategist. Asante. Gitonga Mukunji is the lawmaker representing the great people of Manyata constituency. He calls it Manhattan, but he also chairs the Kenya Young Parliamentarians. And Maina Karobia had granted us his time from Arusha, Tanzania, to be with us. He's a member of this African Legislative Assembly. Thanks for your time as well here on the broadcast and waking up with the broadcast. The hashtag on X, as ever, has been Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikari. We'll see you next week here on the broadcast. Till then, good morning.